The issue of whether ultra-Orthodox or Haredi religious schools, known as yeshivot, are failing to provide their students with even the most basic education in such subjects as math, science, and English is a hot topic of debate and controversy in both Israel and Jewish communities abroad, especially in New York, following a blockbuster New York Times expose on that subject. Now, in a landmark decision, New York State has for the first time officially sanctioned one ultra-Orthodox school, Brooklyn's Yeshiva Masifta Arukta Habosem, for, quote, failing to meet state standards for secular education. Now, the ruling came in response to a suit brought against the school by Beatrice Weber, the head of Young Advocates for Fair Education, or YAFED. She herself was raised in the city's ultra-Orthodox community, and she joins us now there from New York. Beatrice Weber, Executive Director of YAFED, a writer, speaker, and mother of 10 children. Beatrice, thanks for joining us on I-24 News. In a few words, could you just describe your own personal story, because it is relevant to the discussion we're having?
Yes, so I grew up in the Hasidic communities, both in Canada, in Toronto, and then in Rockland County. I got married at 18, actually lived in Israel for 11 years, in Jerusalem as a Kollel wife, and then moved back to Rockland County, and now I live in Brooklyn. I have 10 children, 6 of them boys, and all have attended Hasidic yeshivas both in Rockland County and in Brooklyn.
Right. Now, tell us about your decision to take legal action on this subject of, and there have been other cases of a student, I believe it was one of your own children, failing to get a proper education, the kind that the U.S. government, the state government, does mandate.
Correct. So I left my marriage back in 2014, but though I left my marriage and then later on the Hasidic community, I still had a family court order to continue sending my son to a Hasidic yeshiva. And when I tried to remove him to another yeshiva that would provide him with an adequate education, I was stopped from doing that by the family court system. At that point, I reached out to YAFED and asked them for support, and they provided me, with an attorney and the support I needed to file a complaint with the city and state. This took many years, as you may know. This complaint was filed back in 2019. For several years, it was going back and forth between the city and state until finally, a couple of months ago, the Supreme Court of New York ordered the city and state to complete the investigation.
Right. Now, tell us about this decision just now by New York State taken against this one yeshiva and how it could perhaps be a bigger precedent for other schools.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what will happen next. The city and yeshiva have been given 60 days to provide a plan to the state on how they intend on rectifying this. But, it's hard to know what next steps the yeshiva and city will decide to take. Especially as, the head of YAFED now, I'm very hopeful that it has implications, and it should have implications. But again, because this is the very first time, it's really hard to know what it will look like and how it will impact the rest of the city and state.
Well, how do you respond to the voices, and I'm sure you hear them, and maybe you hear them personally, of those in the ultra-Orthodox community, and say, we're giving our children the education they need. There are many examples of children raised in these schools who turn out to be successful, and this is part of the greater issue of what some call in the U.S. the issue of religious freedom. So I
point right away to extremely Orthodox schools in New York City that are providing an excellent dual education. There are many, many such yeshivas that are, ultra-Orthodox, providing a great education. So getting an education is in no way contradicts one's religious beliefs. And in fact, there are many examples of schools doing that very successfully across the city and state. In addition, someone that's successful in business and other ways, I say they're successful despite their education, not because of their education.
Beatrice, let me ask a sort of personal question. I'm sure this transition from that community to where you're on now was quite difficult, and yet you've taken it upon yourself to go even further in campaigning, for example, this issue. Just how has it been coping with, I presume, quite a bit of societal pressure that you face there in New York?
I will say that leaving my marriage 8.5 years ago brought with it tremendous pressure that I did not expect. I was a very highly respected member of the community. I was the wife of a Rosh Kollel and just wanted to leave a really bad marriage. I experienced incredibly tremendous pushback from the community, from my own family, and really had to stay really strong to overcome that and stay strong in my beliefs that I was doing the right thing. I believe that experience set me up for where I am today, where if I know something is right, I will go ahead and do it. I know what I understand the community. I understand their fears. I understand their concerns. I was them. I am them, right? I was there for decades. I get it. I mean no malice. I mean no harm, but I also understand the importance of an education.
All right, Beatrice Weber, the head of Young Advocates for Fair Education. Thank you for joining us on I-24 News.